Morning, Fractal Effects team. We're just following the market from the early session, so if you're joining us, please make sure you read the disclaimer in the footer section of fractaleffects.com or in the description of the YouTube video. If you're following along with us today, make sure you do in a demo account, as this is for educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. So we have an interesting setup here. A break to the downside from NAS. We had a break up and then a break down on US 500, and the same thing on US 30. So we're waiting for one of two things to happen right now. We're waiting for either a 5M fair value gap, bullish fair value gap, to be created on NAS, or we're waiting for a double break from either of these. If we double break down, then we'll look for a retracement zone. But if we get a 5M fair value gap right now, NAS is the one that's telling the most consistent story. We're bouncing off the DSD, bouncing off the DSD here, bouncing off the DSD here. So all three of these could technically go up. We do have a buy model, but we're also inside of a 4-hour fair value gap. That purple box right here, that's a 4-hour, that's a 4-hour, and US 30 is sitting inside of it. A lot of consolidation. So this is the other thing I want you guys to get good at recognizing. By 10:30, if you have this kind of a consolidation, tight consolidation, it could, one, have a couple of manipulations, two, take a very long time to push. The only news we had today was an orange folder at 10 o'clock. So we're going to treat today like a no news day. What happens during a no news day? We go back and forth taking liquidity and eventually returning back to fair value. Fair value is either the true day open, which is right there, or it's the NDOG and the NWOG, which are sitting inside of each other. So the market is actually sitting right at fair value. But no 5-minute fair value gap's been created. Let's see if it gives us a double break to the downside or if it gives us a 5M fair value gap first. But until we see either of those patterns, we're just relaxed, just watching the market. Nothing of interest here. Make sure you set up a daily routine. Give yourself some time before you jump onto the markets. Either meditate, clear your mind, do whatever you need to do. Some people listen to classical music while they're doing their markups. Remember, make sure you look over London to see if London obligation was met, and it was. We had a double break to the upside, retracement, fair value gap. This was the first one that was tapped. Took out the high. And as mentioned before, this is a 4-hour fair value gap. So we had a reversal, push down into the DSD. We're close to a double break. Let's see if it gives us one. Not too many targets right now to the downside. There's previous day's low. So I'm going to proceed with caution. US 30, that's quite a bit. So no fair value gaps were created in here. Unless we get one in here, if we do get a double break, I mean, unless we get one in here, then we will most likely just return to the DSD low, and that could be a retracement zone. Again, let's wait and see. This could also just be giving us power of 3, consolidation, manipulation, distribution, but this late in the game, I'm only interested in seeing that 5M fair value gap or a double break. We still have no confirmation yet either. Just going to outline this a little better. That's the fair value gap of interest right now. It's the only fair value gap that was created. Pretty big displacement candle right there. Still got 3 minutes left though. So what I have outlined here with this red box, that's the first fair value gap that was created on the 1M after 10 o'clock. And it helps me kind of gauge where the range is at. Remember, 10 o'clock was the opening of the next 4-hour candle. So Tuesday did not set the low for the week. Currently it's still Monday. Usually if there's a 70% chance Tuesday will set it. If Tuesday doesn't set it, there's a 70% chance Wednesday could set it. Also, the longer it takes, the more points of confluence you want. Obviously, we'd love to wait for a confirmation retracement and an extension from the spotlight. But if this thing starts pushing up, we might not even get a confirmation during this entire session. If it pushes down, we'll have a confirmation, a double break, and then that's our area of interest to see if it pushes down. So we're more rooting for a double break here, just because it'll speed things along. But keep in mind, all three of these hit the DSD low. For the most part, they're respecting it, so we want to proceed with caution. Doesn't mean it can't push past that, it just means that we have to wait for the double break, the full retracement, and then a push. This late in the game, if we're going down, I want to see a bearish confirmation from the spotlight indicator as well. Still a whole bunch of nothing. Remember, we cannot sell this market until we get a double break. Because right now, we have a break to the downside, which is actually a bullish signal. We have a buy model. The only thing that's making us think this market's going to go down right now is the 4-hour fair value gap we're sitting in and rejecting. For US 500, we had a break to the upside and a break to the downside. Now, this is kind of a bullish signal as well because we hit the DSD low, and usually it's the last break that sticks. That's where we get that triangle pattern from. So this is still technically more of a bullish signal. Same thing with US 30. Break in both directions, DSD low. So until we get a double break or that bearish confirmation, which will both most likely come at the same time, we cannot sell any of these markets. All we can do is wait for a 5M bullish fair value gap, which has not been created. So again, process of elimination. But right now, as it stands, we cannot sell this market until we get a double break. Even when you see all this red across the board here, 1, 5, 15, 30, we've hit the DSD low. So until it gives us a double break, we don't know that it wants to go below this. This is the daily standard deviation. This is where it normally gasses out if it's going to go back up, and vice versa if it's going to go down off the DSD high. That's why we got to proceed with caution. Still a whole bunch of nothing, just waiting. That's a lot of rejection off the DSD low as well. So if we were getting a power of 3, consolidation, manipulation, distribution, I wouldn't be surprised, but like I said, this late in the game, we just want to see one of two things, either a 5M bullish fair value gap being created or a double break to the downside with a bearish confirmation from the spotlight strategy. US 500 still respecting that fair value gap. That's the first presented fair value gap after 10 o'clock. And US 30, just a whole bunch of consolidation. Just proceed with caution. Again, there's still more confluence to the upside than downside right now for all three of these indices. But I need a foothold. You need a 5M bullish fair value gap as your foothold to climb this mountain. And where would my target be? Well, here's the PO3. I mean PO3, sorry, the POC right there. That's the point of control. I would look to just take out these highs. Let's see what comes first. And then, yeah, the fair value gap's been closed. I can already tell if they want to take this thing up, they're going to do it small and slow with small anemic candles. They're not going to leave any fair value gaps behind until it's too late. Or like I said, it could just drop right through. That's why we wait. Just checking if US 500 left a fair value gap. Nope. No confirmation either. Still no 5M fair value gap. We're 6 minutes away from 11. Right now it's not giving us much of anything. NAS is having a tough time just getting past the DSD low. US 500 on the other side of the DSD. Seems like it wants to push up, but none of them have created a 5M fair value gap yet. We have an obligation to be live. Other than that, I would have called it personally if I was just trading by myself. This is one of those things. Again, if you see this much consolidation going into 11 o'clock, it's just a waste. Let's see if it pushes past this range now on this candle. Excuse me. Remember earlier I said you could have a lot of manipulation on days like this. So there are people that saw this PO3 right here, consolidation. They thought this was the manipulation, and they probably entered right here to go long. Now this is just pushing back down again. That's close to a double break. US 500 still above the DSD low. There's US 30. Now the interesting thing about US 30 is we never got a double break because this never actually went above this previous candle. So we have a bearish confirmation, but no double break. So none of these have a double break yet. I almost want to see one out of US 500 now to seal the deal. So took out all these lows, but we didn't even get a bearish confirmation. Oh, this is really trying to trick people today. This is trying to trap people today. Still no double break, still no confirmation. Bias is still bullish until we get either of those. Still just back and forth. Right now, both of these, US 30 and US 500, are respecting their DSD lows. And as mentioned before, I cannot sell these markets until I get a double break and a bearish confirmation. So still, our bias is still bullish, but we're looking for a foothold, a 5M fair value gap to climb this mountain up. Still got 29 minutes left in our window of opportunity, so more than enough time. But let's see what it gives us. You got to get good at recognizing these patterns. I would have walked away about 5 minutes ago. I don't like to sit through this much consolidation. It's already given us one manipulation where we had a power of 3. We had a consolidation, we had the manipulation, and then this should have been a distribution, but then it took that low out again. I would make a move until I see US 500 give me a double break to the downside, if we're going down. So even after NAS gives it to me, I want to see US 500 give it to me. Since US 500 is the slower pair, I've said this before, look at the slower pair. People will tell you when you're doing divergence, if you're selling, you want to take the weaker pair. If you're buying, you want to take the stronger pair. Bullshit. Regardless of which direction you're going, when you're using divergence, use the slower pair to give you your setup. They're both going to push in the same direction. Just use the slower pair, because when it's ready to go, that's when they'll both go. People use that other philosophy because if something is, like if you're bullish, they jump into the one that's stronger because it will most likely hit the target faster before it does a retracement, etc., whatever. But the bigger push and the bigger move will always be when they're both ready to push. So when the slower one's ready to push, that's when you're going to get the biggest move. So right now, US 500 is the slower pair. And I want to see US 500 give me a double. We'll most likely get a double break right here. Let's see. See if we get a double break and bearish confirmation. But I want to see the same from US 500 first. That's when I'm ready. When the slower pair is ready to push. Just waiting it out. Here comes NAS. Let's see if it gives us this double break on this candle right now. US 30 just 17 seconds away, I think. Oh, let's see. Let's see if that bearish confirmation sticks on US 30. Since we didn't get a double break on US 30, I'm going to use that bearish confirmation to let me know that this thing wants to drop, and then I want to see this double break and then this double break. So US 500 is still the slower pair. Just short of a bearish confirmation. And here's another trap too. We're red across the board, and yet we have not gotten a double break yet. It's another way they trap you. They could just continue pushing up from here. This close to a double break, and then a turnaround. But let's see. See what it actually wants to do. The other thing you want to remember, it's only a sell model until it's not. It's only a buy model until it's not. So if this does give us a double break to the downside and we sweep previous day's low, and US 500 doesn't give us a double break, and it bounces off of the DST low again, and they could both be pushing up because this is already delivered. This is why I said I would have walked away right here. This much consolidation, they're just playing with you. About 20 minutes left in our stream. Still a whole bunch of nothing. One minute 34 seconds left in this candle. Again, let's see if this bearish confirmation sticks. Right now, there's nothing telling us anything bearish yet. Don't let the EMAs fool you. We use the EMAs here in conjunction with everything else. Thirty seconds left. This might be our first bearish signal. There's our first bearish signal, US 30. Let's see if NAS gives us that double break. For US 30, I want to see at least retrace back to the 20. We have a blue zone right here. Here comes NAS. There's your double break. Now I want to see a double break out of US 500, but US 500 is now my most favored pair. It's the slowest one. Get rid of this. Remember, proceed with caution. That's previous day's low. So as soon as we cross that, which I'm not sure if we did here, let's zoom in. We just crossed it. So we double broke into a liquidity zone. That means the market could still reverse here. I want to see if US 500 gives us a double break at all, or if they both want to just push up from here. Now that we have a double break, we get rid of that. Just in case they both want to push up. I want to see NAS, because if they're pushing up, NAS becomes the slower pair now, right? If they're pushing down, US 500 is the slower pair. If they're pushing up, NAS is the slower pair. NAS would have to get over this fair value gap and create a bullish fair value gap. If US 500 doesn't give us a double break, I mean. So there's our bearish confirmation as well. We have a bearish confirmation and a double break to the downside. I want to see what happens here. There's still no double break from DSD. From US 500. It's hit the DSD low. Let's see if it rejects from here. So I cannot buy this market now. And I cannot buy US 30. They're both giving me bearish signals. I can only look for sell setups. Well, 14 minutes left in our stream. So NAS will tell us right here what it wants to do. Same thing with US 500. If we do not get a double break and NAS gets over this, then they could both be pushing up since NAS just took out that daily liquidity. So again, double break, bearish confirmation. We're just looking for a retracement back into this zone. Bounce off that 20 EMA, and let's see if it gives us an immediate rebalance and a push down. US 500 did not give us a double break, still at the DSD low. So we want to watch this to make sure this gives us a double break as well. Otherwise, they could both be pushing back up since NAS just took out the daily liquidity on that yellow line. That was previous day's low. So this is where it will be most likely decided, right here at this fair value gap. Either we push through it and US 500 continues up and gives us a 5M bullish fair value gap, or we reject, get an immediate rebalance, 5M bearish fair value gap, and that's our foothold to go down. We'll go for just a simple 1 to 3. But that has to happen in the next 10 minutes in our window of opportunity. Otherwise, this thing could just drag on all day. We're not here to watch the market all day. We're here to get a quick move in and out. So if US 500 gives us a 5M bullish fair value gap and NAS busts through this fair value gap and also gives us a 5M fair value gap, they could both be pushing up. And again, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in buying this market. And US 500, since both of these are bearish, I'm not looking to buy anything today. So all we can do is look for a sell setup. And it'd be right here. Just waiting for it to come back into here. Hopefully touch this 20 EMA. We'll see what happens here. And the fact that US 500 never gave us that double break, I'd like to see if it comes back up into this blue zone. So we're in the fair value gap now. Let's see if it hits this 20. About 7 minutes left. I'm not sure if we're going to get the setup. So this is the last candle. Again, if we create a 5M bullish fair value gap here, and we punch right through this fair value gap, then that could be a foothold to push up. But again, I'm not interested in buying this market, especially not this late. But that's your homework. Once it closes, check if we violated this fair value gap, created another 5M bullish fair value gap, tapped it and went up, or if we rejected here and gave that double break. Rejected here and took out this double break and then created a double break here. But I'd want to see a 5M bearish fair value gap created here. See, there's not that much room for growth. Not that it couldn't drop further than this, but this is always our last hanging fruit, I should say. Instead of lowest hanging fruit, this is our last fruit of the day, usually as the previous day's high-low. So another reason to just be done for today. Remember, day trading is not everyday trading. If you don't see the setups, don't sit there wasting your time. But this will be our last candle. 3 minutes, 28 seconds left. This market really didn't do much today, just a whole bunch of nothing. But still, we maneuvered it just to show you how the market translator works. Prevents you from getting into unfavorable trade setups, low probability trade setups. So if you stick to the strategy, the trade setups you eventually do jump into will be 70% or higher. Anything lower than that, and you're gambling. Just want to see US 30 here for a second. So it created these two fair value gaps, but it hasn't touched either. As mentioned before, I would always follow the slower pair. I'd want to see US 500 give us a double break, retracement, 5M bearish fair value gap, and a push, but it's not going to happen in our window of opportunity. 1 minute 43 seconds left. We'll conclude our session there. But that's your homework. Come back later, see if it rejected here. So we're already getting an engulfing candle, but see if that sticks and gives us a 5M bearish fair value gap. And then you have to tap that 1M bearish fair value gap, etc. And unfortunately, the targets here Closest target would be down here, this daily fair value gap. But obviously you just go for a 1 to 3. And or the second possibility is we punch through this, create a 5M bullish fair value gap, tap it, and the market goes up to take out that POC right here. $50 seconds left. Please check us out on fractaleffects.com, where we teach high probability trading. Please hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you know when we're live. We're live currently Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We weren't live yesterday for obvious reasons. Powell spoke. Anytime we have high impact news, we'll usually avoid the markets altogether. We'll be live tomorrow, same time, 10:30 Eastern Standard. You can find the disclosure and all the information in the description of our YouTube channel. 12 seconds left. That's our time. Have a great rest of the day. See you guys tomorrow.